So a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a buddy of mine. He comes up to me and he says, James, do you really think that we're in 2025, the year 2025? I'm like, of course, why not? And then we go into this very long discussion on how history as we know it might have been altered in some way, possibly even erased.
As you can see, it's absolutely massive, and it was discovered just by chance.
But as I went deeper into this topic, I found out that there's so much more to it than I would ever imagine.
But history, as we know it, was stretched, altered, 1,000 years added.
I came across this bizarre rabbit hole of a woman who states that we're not in 2025 and how there's even a declassified document which states that history has been rewritten. So I'm thinking, why would history be rewritten? And as I went deeper into this rabbit hole, I found this bizarre connection to the Mandela effect.
I'm tweaking out.
The possible existence of giants and the possible cover-up of an advanced civilization that was wiped out not too long ago.
This has got to be the most unbelievable archaeological find ever made, and to this day there are still no records of who built this or how.
They've kept this hidden from you. The Great Wall of China isn't just a wall, it's a warning. It was to contain.
And how this all connects to what's happening right now. And as far-fetched as it sounds, this is wild. So let's start with the basic. So it all starts with this video posted by Emma 1 week ago. As we discussed the possibility that 1,000 years were fabricated.
If the timeline was altered, what else was rewritten? The year was 561, before the war for Tartary. But history, as we know it, was stretched, altered, 1,000 years added, obscuring the truth. A civilization erased, a war forgotten. One piece of evidence remains, a painting of the 1561 celestial battle over Nuremberg. Witnesses describe strange flying objects, explosions in the sky. Was this the final battle of Tartary?
So she's talking about the painting of these orbs, alien orbs over Nuremberg, and how there's a bunch of evidence that people saw these alien-like objects in the sky in 1561.
Was this the final battle of Tartary? A war fought not just on Earth, but above it. If history was rewritten, what was the world before the reset? And why did they let this one image survive? If 1,000 years were fabricated, then what era are we truly living in? The year was 561, before the war for Tartary. Did this war rewrite time itself? Was a once thriving civilization erased, its technology confiscated, its legacy buried under false years? If they added 1,000 years, then who were we before the reset?
So it's funny how whatever she's talking about reminds me of this precise moment that we're living right now with the drones and the orbs, AI technology, quantum computing. We are at the brink of a new era. But at the same time, a lot of people feel as if we could be facing a huge downfall. Just like what supposedly happened to this mysterious Tartarian empire that supposedly never existed. Just like the Mandela effect, you remember things that supposedly never existed. It's as if there was a huge shift in time or history was indeed erased. But the question is, why?
One of the most iconic songs by the band Queen is "We Are the Champions." But does anybody remember how that song ends? Because I remember the very last line of the song being, "We are the champions of the world." Except that's not how the song ends. So if you remember "of the world," that means you probably jumped out of the same parallel reality that I did.
So before we go into all of this, let's first find out more about the Tartarian Empire that supposedly never existed, and if there's any evidence to support this wild claim. So the first thing I found was this video that explains quite well what the Tartarian Empire theory is, posted by the Emerald Stories in 2024.
They've been hiding the true answer to this question from us. Why are these doors and windows halfway in the ground? During the early 19th century, strange events were reported worldwide. Cities were being dug out from layers of mud and debris. Buildings were being revealed that were covered to their rooftops in mud. A global cataclysmic event buried entire civilizations, erasing them from history. But here is where it gets rather unsettling. The Tartarian Empire, an empire often depicted in old maps, was an advanced civilization that existed across Europe and Asia. They built architectural marvels, had access to advanced technology, and were able to harness energy from the atmos. The mud flood, many say, was a deliberate attempt to wipe out Tartary from history, hiding their advanced technology and knowledge. But it gets even darker. Look at the World's Fairs of the late 1800s and early 1900s.
Okay, I heard about that.
Buildings, resembling ancient architecture, were supposedly built in just a few years. After the fairs, they were supposedly demolished. Was this to erase evidence of an advanced pre-existing civilization? The Chicago World Fair in 1893, the Paris Exposition in 1900, and the St. Louis World Fair in 1904. These events showcased magnificent architecture, and on official papers they were apparently built with plaster and wood. The sudden disappearance of these architectural marvels raises the question, were they remnants of the Tartarian Empire, conveniently disguised as temporary exhibits, and then destroyed to hide their origins?
One interesting thing about this theory is the pyramids. How is it that the Egyptians, the Mayans, and the Incas, and many other civilizations thought the same thing? Let's all build pyramids. It's as if there was a unified civilization, and the story that is told is very different.
So this is a map of pyramids all around the world, all allegedly built independently of each other and all having identical structures that follow the similar step pattern. Why are our 21st century brains not capable of doing what dozens of ancient civilizations have repeatedly been able to do? Because the sunken Yonaguni monument, a supposed 10,000 years old, older than even the Egyptian pyramids, all with a nearly identical look, yet built by completely different cultures with zero contact among each other and thousands of kilometers apart. But this is just the tip. We got way more lesser known pyramids even older than the Egyptian ones that ain't even standing anymore. Like the Gunung Padang temple in Indonesia. Doesn't look so hot now, but used to be a step pyramid a whole 9,000 years ago. At least that's what they thought, until a more recent radiocarbon analysis shows that the lower parts of this temple go as far back as 28,000 years.
So let's just say that back in the 1800s there was advanced technology that was wiped out. Nikola Tesla type technology. Could it be that there's any evidence of that? I did find some things I'll show you guys in a few minutes.
Following the introduction of modifications which had been indicated by the results of full-scale tunnel testing of the Avro car.
But before that, is it possible that this advanced technology came from previous civilizations?
Estoy en el Museo Egipcio y es impresionante que esta pieza pasa completamente desapercibida. Parece una pieza de ingeniería, la llaman el disco de Saúl, pero esta pieza de esquisto es una maravilla de la ingeniería antigua. Fue encontrada en una de las primeras tumbas en Saqqara. Pasa completamente desapercibido. Fíjense que el museo está lleno y nadie repara en esta pieza. Miren lo que es. Miren lo que es esta pieza.
Weird stuff that happens around the Sekhmet statue in Egypt. This is part 2 of me trying to explain the weird anomalies that happen when I visited a out-of-bounds statue in Egypt.
So get this woman, funny old world, she went to Egypt in 2023 to visit this statue over here, the Sekhmet statue, which is off limits. She has to pay a huge amount of money to check this statue out. When she did, this happened.
So where was I? This is a professional photograph done by a photographer who had his camera that he's had since he was 16 years old. And this camera is particularly good at taking very clear photos in low light conditions. He absolutely freaked out when he discovered that he could not focus his camera on this statue. For reference, here is a photo taken in another similar chamber with similar lighting. Same camera in the same temple complex, similar lighting thing. This is the kind of photo that you should be able to take. Now for reference, this is a straight on photo of Sekhmet, right? Here it is, here she is. It's very, very low light. The only light source is a tiny hole in the temple ceiling, which gives us a little bit of sunlight. This photo was taken this week on the most recent tour, also taken by a professional photographer with his camera. Now at first, I didn't notice anything wrong with this photo, right? It's just a person who's walking in front of the statue and it's got a bit blurry. Except that's not a person. The man took a photo of the statue with nobody in the room.
This statue gives me the vibes that, first of all, it's not human. It looks like an alien. Then the man can't seem to take a picture of it. It seems to be interfering with the camera. And then this thing, it's not a person, it's too close to the statue. You can't be that close. It's not allowed. Ancient technology hidden in plain sight, or what? So going back to the mud flood theory, the Tartarian Empire, the Mandela effect, and a possible timeline shift, I found out that there's possible evidence of the existence of this Tartarian Empire even though it officially never existed. Very similar to what happens with the Mandela effect. This is what I found.
So my kiddo found this at a thrift store. He's really into geography and cartography. So this was a neat find. And as we looked at it, and we got over here, Europe, Africa, Asia, boom. So yeah, hidden in plain sight for sure.
Interesting how there's a bunch of maps that still portray Tartaria as an empire even though it never existed. Then I found this video coming in from this Twitter account. He says, when leveling land, look at what was under the ground, unknown location. So you can see there are a bunch of pillars. But is there any more evidence? While looking for more evidence of this mud flood, I found this place that was uncovered in China, which apparently was an infinite source of water. Take a look.
This has got to be the most unbelievable archaeological find ever made. And to this day, there are still no records of who built this or how. It was found near a village along the Q River of eastern China, a quaint little farming town with beautiful rolling hills. One of the mountains in the region was home to a series of very interesting rectangular shaped ponds that were unlike any other in the country. For as long as anyone in the village could remember, these ponds supplied them with water for ages. Generations upon generations would use the ponds as a fresh water supply, and they would never run dry or even recede over time. They almost seem to be a source of infinite water.
Infinite water. That's interesting. But where is this place?
After 5 days of non-stop pumping, the water level had only dropped a couple feet, but they made their first earth-shattering discovery. Just below the surface of the water, on the far side of the pond, they see a set of stairs going down into the bottom of the pond. This was clearly huge. Excited, they got 4 more water pumps and rallied a few more villagers to help their cause and continued pumping non-stop for 17 more days. And they did it. They drained the entire pond, and what they found shocked not only the village, but the entire world as well. They were looking directly into an ancient man-made subterranean complex that completely defied their entire understanding of history. These are the Long U Caves, crafted with perfectly flat floors, enormous rooms, grand pillars, and even intricate art carved into its walls. The entire excavation revealed 24 caves in a massive underground network, 14 of which were collapsed, but the 10 that stood were just unexplainable.
Interesting. So the Long U Caves in China. No one knows who or what built this thing, why, and when. Nothing. Nada. Let's take a look at this.
Is this, as far as I know, this cave was discovered in like 221 BC. There's really no history or record showing anything about this place. As you can see, it's absolutely massive, and it was discovered just by chance.
So I'm thinking 24 caves perfectly carved out of stone. No one knows when. Very ancient. Could it be that this thing wasn't a cave? Could it be that this is a structure and it's actually mud flooded?
I really hope you guys can get a sense of just how massive these caves are. So guys, if you notice, even some of these carvings on the pillars, like this one right here, it's a dragon and its head is going down into the ground. So it's entirely possible that we are still standing on further unexcavated parts of this cave. This could actually go even deeper.
So this is getting interesting. So there is evidence of a sedimentary layer that happened and covered things thousands of years ago, but not in the 1800s. So let's keep digging and see what we find. I posted to Reddit an alternative history 2 years ago, ancient stump in 1918 coal mine. Look at that. It doesn't make any sense. How is it that a tree was cut in half inside of a coal mine? That doesn't happen naturally. So what happened here? Sedimentary layer maybe? But then I found this.
Now this is a mud flood building. You have to understand, this building was found, excavated, and dug out. That's the reason why some of these windows have been bricked out or turned into air vents.
That's weird.
The windows are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. That's just where somebody hasn't dug out deep enough.
What the hell?
Flood building.
It's like the more I look at this, the more I find evidence of some sort of event that happened in the past. That this sedimentary level or layer covered a bunch of buildings, things. Look at this.
Here we have a video from the Mine Explorer in France, where it goes down into a mine with a lot of architecture that would seem to be on the surface, probably at the time of when this little city was around. There's even a car from the early 1900s and just endless tunnels with stonework. It's definitely an interesting thing to look at and incredible to say the least. What do you think?
So this is the access to this place, and there was a car inside and more things that were there inside this place. It looks as if at a certain moment here that it was mud flooded. There's more structure that could be dug out. But I'm thinking this could be just a coincidence. If there was indeed a mud flood, there should be more buildings all over the world of such an event, right? Oh my. Significant archaeological find in Miami from a 7,000-year-old settlement at a new construction site. Wow, is there any video of this?
Sometimes the best place to find what's hidden beneath the surface is from an eagle-eyed view up above. And that is exactly what one sharp-eyed observer found from his building up high, noticing that the new construction in his city was revealing something much, much older.
That's really weird.
Before we leave this one, I'm going to show this. This is all mud flood. Okay, so here's the ground level here, and you look over here, and there's the old door underneath the stairs over there. All of this. What's going on here? It looks like it was dug out as well. Look at this. Original brickwork on the side there. All sorts of old brick. This is something else that's still buried under all that.